Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to dive into the easiest to explain and probably the hardest to achieve of all the Spider 20 strategies. We're going to explain to you how to make a nuking or speed comp. It's very simple and yet very complex. Before we go on, there is something I want to let you know about any Spider 20, really any dungeon, but specifically the Spider 20. If you want immediate success in improving your Spider 20 times, damage, progression, there is one thing you can do that you don't even have to look at the spider to do. You don't even have to look at artifacts. You don't need to have silver. You just need to log in every day and do your chores. And that's the Great Hall, my friends. This is going to be your progression meter in Spider. The reason why I say that more so than anywhere else is because you need a debuffer and you need crit damage galore. And those two things are things that you can actually achieve here in the Great Hall. Now, my Great Hall, I've got 3,121 points. Yes, that is a little bit, I'd say mid to late game. I started late on this and I really wish I hadn't. So for any of you that are in that early to mid game and you're like, arena's not important, arena is critically important. Please do every coin you can every day. Do not let yourself max out. Do your coins, because let me tell you here, if you're struggling to get accuracy and you can't land those debuffs anywhere you're at, oh, how am I supposed to ever do it without debuffs? Well, if you can't get a banner because you have to do spiders, and you can't do spiders because you need a banner, well, a 5-star banner gets you, I think it's 76 accuracy. A 10-star haul is 80 accuracy. Yes, I know that 1,000 is a lot of medals, but you have to do it anyway for the Arbiter progression, and that's kind of what Spider 20 Auto is all about anyway, so you're still achieving that. Rather than doing like all the other work you see here, all the blues and stuff, that was done after. I had everything at level 1 or 2 until I maxed out the accuracy on these two and got these to level 8, and I also did crit damage, I believe, originally on my Void, and then my Magic Affinity, and now I'm starting to work on resist because it's where I need it to be. But this is exactly where I focused originally, was accuracy, accuracy, crit, crit. I did the 4 corners and then I did these 2 accuracies. Like I said, the reason for this, the reason why this is so important is because without that accuracy, you can't land debuff, you can't land debuff, you can't win. And this is just going to give you more damage. More damage means better ease at killing the spider. So please consider, do your arenas every day, as many tokens as you can get. If you can only farm gold 3, farm gold 3. If you can only do gold 1, do gold 1. If you can do gold 4, do gold 4. Whatever it takes, but make sure you do your farming every single day. As for the dungeon itself, it is a very simple strategy, and it requires you to have certain champs, and those champs have max enemy HP as a modifier on their hit. Steel Boyer, by the way, has that. Doesn't work. Husk has it, but he's weak affinity. So if you're trying to progress to 20, Husk is someone you should consider. But in this dungeon, he's going to weak hit. So it's not going to be very reliable. Also, it hits for about 50% of what these guys hit with almost identical gear. I've tested it out. Even when he doesn't weak hit, it does about 800k damage as opposed to about 1.5 to 1.7. So it's not going to do quite the same. So the original one, the one that I always use here, is this. I can also do it with Draco Morph. Either one is going to work for you. So I can do this, or I can do this right here. If you have either Draco Morph or Venus, you've won the lottery. That is exactly how you get 20-second times. That's going to put a defense down and a weaken, and it only has a base resist, which is about a 5% chance to resist. If it resists defense, it's a no-win. If it resists weaken, depending on the strength of your champions, you can still progress and win. The next way you can do this, if you don't have either of those champions, you're just looking to pass the missions for Arbiter on auto, then I do suggest using Rhazin. Rhazin has a 30% chance to weak hit, which means he will not land that defense down weaken, which means you're going to fail approximately 30% of the time, depending on your RNG. For the Arbiter missions, I think that's a sacrifice anyone's willing to make, but for regular farming, I would suggest using something like this in more of a sustain, which is what I'll be doing in the next video, actually, is a Weak Affinity tank method, which gives you sustain on your Rhazin long enough that you can kill the spider with fewer nukers, and that's probably the safest way for most people that don't have those kind of end game champs like Venus, like Dracomorph. Also, if you have a Septimus, forget all this. Go over to Murder Inc. I know there's a couple others that have it, but I've watched Murder Inc.'s briefly. He has a Septimus spider. I hope I got the right guy. Well, if he doesn't, then he better make one, because I'm sending people over there. He's got a Septimus Spider 20, does just ridiculous amounts of damage. You don't need all these guys. You just need Septimus and a couple of other precursor things. So go look at that. I don't have a Septimus, so I can't show you that method. Finally, if you don't have Rhazin, or if you want something that's a little bit more sustained and you have the good nuking champions, you can go with a Ghostborn. A Ghostborn has an A3 that cannot be resisted, so you're always going to land that defense down. If you do that, I suggest running all 4 of these champions, or at least your 2 Coldhearts, at above 190 speed, just to make sure that you get their A1s, or sorry, their A3s in on the second round, because they use their A2s first. If you target the spider, you can get them to use their A3 first, but honestly, why? If you want to use some clickers overnight and you want to start night farming, and this is the best place to make silver, so I highly suggest you do that. I've probably been sitting on 15 million silver every day and burned through it. I was up to 70 million after not this recent spider event, but the one before, burned through it, just creating new champions, new content, new gear, just to try to make videos for you guys. So the spider 20 is where it's at for generating silver per energy. So you really want to get a team that can do it reliably, and that you can do it efficiently. So this is an option. Any champion, if you're at this level and you do have 3 of these can sometimes kill it, but I have 4 because sometimes it doesn't, I don't kill it. So the other option here is anyone that has a defense down. I can use Tyrell in this. I'm perfectly fine with that because he prioritizes his defense down. Be aware and beware of champions that have a defense down but do not prioritize it. I am thinking Galcut is for one. I made him in a different video. I thought I'd try him in here. Does not prioritize his defense down, and therefore you will fail. So make sure that the champion that you choose has a defense down and prioritizes it. Another one I can think of is Rotos, has an A1. Martyr also has an A1 with defense down. Neither of them prioritize their A1 in auto, so you will fail. Keep that in mind. So we're gonna run this basic one, but there's one more thing I want you to be aware of when running this comp. It is kind of the last piece of the puzzle and the most important, and it's one thing I wish I would have known earlier, but it is what it is make sure I take the right Coldheart. I do need the Coldheart that has, yeah. So I have one of my Coldhearts with the debuff accuracy above 200, so I can do turn meter reduction, and that's just because my other Coldheart runs just a tad slow, and I didn't feel like sacrificing anything else for the speed. But for this one, I'm going to show you something that is absolutely integral to know, and like I said, I wish I had known this before because I wasted a lot of resources on it. In 99% of the content you have, Coldheart's a really good dungeon farmer. Good for Fire Knight, good for Dragon, obviously good for Spider, probably good for Potion Dungeons too if you don't have high-end nukers. For this, you typically, for all those, you only need one. This is the only place where multiple Coldhearts are typically used. You do not need them to 6-star to do the damage, and I'm going to show you with this comp. I've taken my other 6-star Coldheart, I put it in a 5-star. She is fully sended and fully booked. I have so many books I don't know what to do with in the rare. But this enemy max HP is a modifier that does nothing to do with your champion's attack, defense, HP level. It has nothing to do with it at all. And I will prove that to you in this run, unless the other 3 kill it, which sometimes happens. So, and just to show you what we're talking about here, I'm going to bring her up. Right there. You can see here, she has, it's not even, it's what is that? 198 crit damage. She's got 75% crit rate, so that's good. The crit damage is 200. Her attack is what, 2k. Her HP is, 2100, 2200. Those are not impressive stats. They're average stats. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when you consider, for example, this Coldheart here is looking at about 280. And one of my Royal Guards here is over 300. That's not that one there. No, it's the, wait, I thought, is my math just bad? Okay, 296. Could swear that was higher. But anyway, so definitely has like 100% less crit rate than what the team would normally have. So let's run this, and hopefully it'll work with me and show what I need it to show. So you know that your Coldhearts are going to use their A2s first, and that's definitely something to realize. So boom, boom, and then we get the takedowns. We've got the defense down on weaken. We got another takedown. She puts a little burn on there just for there, and then here we go. Boom, 1.191. That's 1.2 million. The other one, just I missed it quick, but it's about 1.6 million she usually does. So that's a 400,000 difference. The only difference is if she had 300% crit rate, she would have done the same damage. There is no correlation between level and damage in this instance on her A3. So if you were using a 3 Coldheart strategy, don't level your extra Coldhearts. Have one Coldheart at 6-star for your other dungeons. Have every other Coldheart at 5-star. Ascend them, max them out, give them books if you want to, if you have lots of books like I do, but do not waste the chicken food on taking them to 6 stars. I wish I could have that food back. I could have one of my other champions at 6-star. So that's all I have it. This is a very simple comp, and like I said, it's all about the champions, and everything else is kind of irrelevant. I'll really quickly go through. It's not going to let me do it that way. I'll really quickly go through and just show you the champion gear that they each have on them, and like again, it's simple. It's all about getting that. Well, let's take them. I'll take both. Whatever. We'll take them all out. We'll take them all out for you guys. I'll take them all out. Okay. No. Okay, so this here, this is not a typical Venus build. I was just kind of testing her out in Immortal Gear, but my Immortal Gear isn't quite what I want it to be to make that happen. But the big thing is here, she's got debuff accuracy, and that debuff accuracy is going to allow her to land that defense down weaken. Again, there's a base resist of about 5%. Speed, so she goes first. She doesn't necessarily have to go faster than the Coldhearts, because they will use their A2 first and then their A through, but she has to be faster than your Royal Guards. And that way, so everyone is hitting with the defense down weaken. And everything else here is irrelevant for this particular scenario. And then we've got Royal Guard 1 here. Again, 296 crit damage, 100% crit rate, 3,400 attack. It seems to me that attack has very little bearing on how much damage you do, but it does seem to do a little bit different. I find when I don't use a Royal Guard with his his leadership aura, I see a little bit of a difference, but not really to make a whole lot of impact. The big impacts here, as you can see, the speed's low. If you're using just a defense down, or you're trying to do it with 3 champions, definitely get the speed up on your Coldhearts to make sure that they get 2 turns in before the spider goes. The other the other Royal Guard, very similar. There's that 311. I couldn't math. I couldn't click the right one. But as you can see there, he's got no health whatsoever. He got 4K attack, 311 crit damage, and everything else is irrelevant. By the way, if you Royal Guards are also very good in other dungeons, but there's a quick fix for that. Basically, when I bring him into here, because he's not doing any debuffing, I put him in attack gear. When I move him to a dungeon, I will use this gear here, which allows him to have 96 extra accuracy, so he can land his speed decrease and land his defense down, which in some trash waves may become useful for you. Things like the Ice Golem, maybe Dragon. So that's just something to keep in mind if you need to use him as your defense down in other dungeons. Coldhearts here. The one, of course, I have the debuff accuracy. Could use a little bit more health, but don't really need it. 205 speed. I also use her in the Fire Knight, which is why I need those speeds. It doesn't quite have to be that high for this dungeon, for Spider Dungeon, but in order to make sure that she gets multiple hits on the shield on the Fire Knight before he closes his shield. But anyway, I'll do a video on it at some point, and you'll see like having that above 200 is what you want to do to get multiple attacks in. That way, if she uses her A2, it's okay. She's still going to be able to use her A1, and you're going to get that shield open, and with the lure, you're going to keep it open. But for this, it's all about that 70%, because her A3 has a 30% chance to crit rate already. So you start at 30%, you add that 70% to get the 100. Obviously, math. Crit damage around 282. You just want to keep pushing that up. The more you get, the easier it becomes, right? The less variance, your crit damage floor just gets higher. And then there we go, 279, 272 on this one. Again, 2400 attack. You see that that attack, they hit harder than Royal Guard does, even though they've got lower attack. And it's because it's a single target versus the AoE, so I'm sure the damage modifiers are different. But it's just to keep in mind, this is all about that enemy max HP. You can use the level 50. I showed it, the level 50 to you already. You can see most of the stuff. Sometimes I use crit damage gear. It's always nice. Ignore enemy defense. 5% is always a nice one to use. If you have enough for bigger sets, you know, I'm trying to think of what other sets you might use. Probably speed sets, but it's all about that crit damage. I don't have the best crit damage gear, so I can't speak to using better. But I'm using HP here. I probably don't even know why. To be honest, I probably should. Oh, I think it's just to get that. Again, it's really hard sometimes. This is why you want to farm. I need to farm more. Is crit damage. Savage gear is also pretty nice if you can get the right gear, although very, very demanding. Do I have a? Oh, that's why. Because the other two sets. Well, I guess arguably this would be the way to go. So maybe I'll switch that out and get even more damage. Because I'm not using accuracy on her anyway, and it's an accuracy banner. So yeah, I don't need HP. Who cares? Maybe I'll switch that out. We'll see. So that's it. That's all I have for the video. I've tried 20 times to make this video 10 minutes or less. I can't do it. I talk too much. I apologize. You can skip through the parts you don't want to listen to. That's what's great about YouTube. But that is it. Next up, tomorrow or the next day, I will have the Weak Affinity Tank method available to you. It's going to be a little bit more wide array, so I'm going to try to be a lot more succinct with it so that I can get through all the different scenarios you can probably use in order to create that team to be reliably farming Spider 20. Thank you for joining me. I hope you like and subscribe. I hope this is useful to you. I suspect the next one will probably be more useful, but nonetheless, I thank you for bearing with me for the last 15 minutes. Be kind to one another. Be safe out there during COVID. Special thoughts go out to Kizzle, who I just watched his video. He apparently probably has COVID-19. He's on the back end of it. He thinks he wasn't able to get tested because he didn't meet the very specific and a little bit sometimes arbitrary of traveled or with someone who was known positive. That's the way it is, but he's had a bad time of things, and he's on the right side of it. Thankfully, his health and his constitution, I believe, was enough that it didn't really get him to the degree that it's getting some people. So thinking of you, Kizzle. I hope to see you back soon, and I'm glad that you are okay. I'm out of here. I'll do it in the immortal words of Chosen. Peace.